So we have the Division 3 2026 WIAA Boys Basketball Tournament. First, the state of Wisconsin. So we have number 8 Seattle and defeated number 9 Hayward 89-83 in overtime. And then St. Croix Central defeated Ashland 54-36. Northwestern defeated Barron 75-55. St. Croix Falls defeated Spooner 71-24. And St. Croix Falls defeated Northwestern 67-51. Then St. Croix Central defeated St. Croix Falls 50-45. Ellsworth defeated Baltimoreville 74-51. And Osceola defeated Ellsworth 67-62. Emory 86-68 over Somerset. And then Prescott 68-55 over Emory. And Osceola defeated Prescott 66-52. Then St. Croix Central 65-63 win over Osceola at Somerset, the neutral site for the sectional semifinal final. And then we had Arcadia 70-52 over Watoma. Altoona 81-44 won over Arcadia. Then Adams Friendship with a 56-41 over Bloomer. Stanley Boyd beat Adams Friendship 64-36. Then Stanley Boyd upset number 1 Altoona 58-54. Mazen and then Black River Falls defeating Outbounds 84-73. Mosney blew out Black River Falls 104-64. Amherst 50-75 over Westfield. Gale Ettrick Temporal 62-40 over Amherst. And Gale Ettrick Temporal 81-75 over Mosney. Then at Osseo Fairchild, Gale Temporal defeated Stanley Boyd 90-80. And then in sectionals at Eau North, at St. Croix Central defeat Gale Ettrick Temporal. Sorry for pronouncing these names, school names wrong. 61-53 or 61, and then on the left side back for the sectional 2, Wrightstown over Northland Pines 50-40, Pestigo 81-43 over Tomahawk, and Freedom 83-51 Wrightstown, and 67-65 Acanto Falls over Pestigo, and Wittenberg Bremenwood got played Denmark, who won 61-57 over Clinville, and Wittenberg Bremenwood over Denmark 37-38. And Menominee Nation 59-57 over Sturgeon Bay. Seymour 77-36 over Menominee Nation, and Seymour beat Wittenberg Bremenwood in more dominating fashion 56-35. Then Freedom defeated Acanto Falls 95-65. And at Ash Robinson, number 2 seed Seymour wins 56-49 in the top half of section 2. In sectional 2, Ripon 71-52. And then Berlin, number 1 Berlin 92-60 over Ripon. Winneco and beat Chilton 78-35 and Lilleshute 65-63 over Winneco. And Berlin 62-53 over Lilleshute. And then Sheboygan Falls the Keel 86-61. And then Xavier defeat Keel 73-46. Campbell Sport blew at North Fond du Lac 75-43. Berlin beat Campbell Sport 75-54. Xavier 76-52 over Berlin. And then at Ashers North, Berlin Xavier 16-61 over Berlin. Then at Seymour, Seymour played at Nina against Xavier, and Seymour won 71-52. And in sectional 3, okay, in Division 3, Mineral Point, the number 8 played the number 8 seed Dodger Electric as they won. Dodger won 70-71. Mineral Point won 60-59 over Dodger. New Glarus 71-47 over Roca. Lancaster 65-52 over Richmond Center. And Lancaster 71-50 over New Glarus. Then Lancaster upset Mineral Point, number 1 seed 79-62. Then Platteville 76-66 over Raleigh. Mauston had bye and they beat Platteville Platteville beat them 71-50. Lodi 75-50 over Wisconsin Dells. And then Lodi upset number 2 seed Queens 54-52. Then Platteville advanced to the regionals semis, or sectional semis, with a 72-61 win over Platteville. Regionals were first rounds at Campus 8. I guess that's part of the sectional, and then it's the sectional semis and final, which is neutral seat. And Lancaster played Platteville at Prairie du Chien, and Lancaster won 75-67. And then the number 1, and then Evansville 71-61 over Mayville, excuse me. And then Lake Mills won 70-60 after they got the bye. They beat Evansville. And then East Troy the Levy and Darien 58-56. And then Turner 75-56 over Waupun. And then East Troy 85-75 in overtime over Turner. And Lake Mills 70-45 over East Troy. And then Whitewater fell to Columbus 61-46. Watertown Luther Prep beat Columbus 66-57. Edgerton beat Bigfoot 59-42. Lakeside Lutheran beat Edgerton 64-44. And then Watertown Luther Prep won 47-40 over Lakeside Lutheran. And then in Watertown, either at Watertown Luther Prep or at the non-prep school in Watertown. Could be at it looked like it was hosted by Watertown Luther Prep though. So could be. So still, either way, Lake Mills won 60-58, and then they played Lancaster at Oregon, and Lake Mills blew out Lancaster 85-53. And then it's Section 04. The number 9 seed St. John's Northwest Academy defeated Brookfield Academy 67-66. Number 1 seed Augsburg 61-52 win over Brookfield Academy. Rocky School Languages blew out Hmong American Peace 84-29. And then Kingdom Prep Lutheran blew out Rocky School Languages 107-79. And Augsburg over Kingdom Prep Lutheran 73-51. Then Rocky Madison for the Brown Deer blew out 137-36. That was a big blowout. Carmen Lutheran barely beat Brown Deer 71-67. Then Carmen Northwest over University of Squawky 70-58, and Lake Country Lutheran 76-65 over Carmen Northwest. Then Moraine Lutheran beat Lake Country Lutheran 60-47. Then at Germantown, Augsburg with a 56-53 win at Germantown. That was on Wednesday. It's supposed to be on the 12th, a sectional semis, but that was at the 11th. So they got a day off of rest. And then their times are all 7 p.m. Central, which is Wisconsin time. But if they're a certain time or a different day, they change the day or the time right there. They can choose the time, but. And then we had the number 1 seed, Racine Lutheran, bottom half of Section 04. They fell to Messenger beat St. Anthony, and Racine Lutheran played them. 98-34, Messenger, Racine Lutheran. Then Racine Lutheran blew up Messenger 90-58. Shortland Lutheran blew up Rocky Washington 92-34. Then Russian St. Catholic blew up Cristo Rey Jesuit 88-37. Shortland Lutheran 66-63 over St. Joseph Catholic, and then Racine Lutheran 94-59 below over Shortland Lutheran. Then Fuller Collegiate Academy took on Adon Technology after they beat Milwaukee North 68-55. Audubon Technology 77-61 over Fuller Collegiate Academy. And then St. Thomas More 73-51 over St. Francis. And Racine St. Catholic 83-63 over St. Thomas More. And then Racine St. Catholic 86-63 over Audubon Technology. And then Racine Lutheran played Racine St. Catherine's. And at Racine Horlick, that was a neutral site. It was at Racine Horlick, the one Racine school. I did not make it to the tournament. In section, well, they could have made it. Did they make it to the tournament? Was another section? No, I didn't. Oops, wrong division. I did not. Nope. Okay, so one team that did not make it to the tournament, which I would think it would be in Section 04, but they won't. And then Racine St. Catherine's won 60-60 Racine Lutheran at Racine Horlick. Then Racine St. Catherine's Augsburg at Whitefish Bay 74-58. And then we have the neutral site, and we have the semifinals in Division 3. They played at the Coastal Mass, Wisconsin, home of the Wisconsin Badgers men's and women's basketball teams. So we had Seymour, the number 1 seed. They defeated the number 4 seed Snicker Central 67-49. And then Lake Mills fell to Racine St. Catherine's 72-66. And then Racine St. Catherine's beat Seymour 61-41. And that's 15 minutes following the completion of the Division 4 championship game. So Division 5 starts at 11:05. And if it's 2 hours, it's 1:05. That's 1:20. And about 1:20, 1:25, and that's gonna be about probably 3:40. I would say maybe 3:25, maybe 3:40, 3:45ish. And then this is at 6:35, Division 2. And Division 1 is not getting ready till roughly 8:59 o'clock. 8:50, 9 o'clock.